Hey everybody, Economic Ninja here. I hope you are doing well. If you can tell where I am, I actually don't know where I am. I'm in a tunnel somewhere. I'm actually in a gold mine. We're going to be talking about gold because we have seen gold and silver sell off, but we've seen everything sell off, including the Dow, the NASDAQ, the S&P, your grandma's 401k. Everything's going down, and we're going to talk about that, and we're going to hit the nail on the head. We're going to hit the topic head on, and I am here with Mario Stifano from Galantas Gold. Mario, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. You're right. The economy, the environment seems quite difficult, but good companies always succeed and do better and build strength in these kind of economies. And I think Galantas got the chance to really demonstrate to the market that we're going to be a long-term survivor here.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for coming on. And the reason why is, guys, everybody, this video is being filmed on Friday, and I'm gonna share the screen and show you what's going on in the markets right now. This video is gonna come out sometime next week. So we don't know what's gonna happen next week. We don't have a crystal ball, but let me jump in real quick, share a screen here, and we're gonna talk about what happened today on the market. So as we see right here, gold sold off. Silver is actually positive, but started the day negative. But the reason why is because when we go to the markets, the broad markets, the Dow is up, S&P is up, NASDAQ's up, but that's not been the story, right? If you look at the headlines, it's saying, hey, we're popping up. Is this the beginning of the end of the sell-off? There's still a lot of people out there, mainstream economists, that are saying we have more downside to go. And so what's happened is over the last few 2 to 3 weeks, we've seen gold sell off in a little bit of a way. I'm going to pull up a 5-day chart right here. We're going to see downside pressure, but also 1 month. Now, let's talk, Mario, about what's happened in the mining sector, because mining stocks have more leverage to the price of gold and silver. They've been selling off, but have you guys changed your approach to mining all of a sudden that would cause this to happen?
No, not at all. And you're right. I think the equities on the gold mining side, and whether, as you said, gold or silver, have really taken a beating recently. And I don't think anyone should be looking at a particular spot price and making a decision on what the value of a gold company is. Everyone should be looking at something in the long-term perspective. So, we're down, say, less than 10% from the all-time highs. It wasn't that long ago we were at $2,000 gold, Travis. Yep. But equities have seen 30, 40, 50, 60% declines, which to me is silly, because the fundamental reason we're all invested in gold is because we already see what's happening with inflation. As you already pointed out, the economy is weakening. Look, I'm of the view, just like you, I think that things are probably going to get much worse in the North American and the European markets. And this is the beginning, not the end of this correction. I look at charts like you do, and look, I'm a little nervous, but this is the time you should be increasing your exposure to gold and gold equities, not decreasing your exposure to these metals and companies.
So I completely agree. And I just, a couple of my holdings in exploration companies, I doubled up last week because I saw that retracement that was so great. Now, the companies I'm talking about did not fall at, it was a much deeper fall than what Galantas went through. But a lot of people are citing this, the strength of the dollar, the DXY chart. And this is a 1-year chart. But again, I want to pull this back to people too and remind them of this point. Around when everything in 2020 was coming down and we saw it spike up, but then consequently, as money started getting printed, we saw it drop. Now, another thing I want to point out is the all-time. And what's very interesting back here is what happened in the late 70s when inflation was rearing its ugly head. It started really moving up, and then we saw it consequently fall. And we all know what happened right here. As this thing started falling, everything else started unraveling. And in the early 80s, that was the time to own gold and gold equities, like mining companies, correct?
Correct.
So the question is this. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on with your company, and you had an announcement was it a couple weeks ago or a couple of months ago about becoming a producing company. You were actually moving from exploration to producing, which I think is super exciting because very few people get to see that transition, or they're invested in a company during that transition. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
Oh, look, that's a great point. And, one of our investors put out a comment, is Irish gold more valuable? In many ways, I believe it is. If you went through some of our drill results, you would have seen we're starting to hit what we call these dilation zones, or some people call them jewel boxes. And I really don't know how thick and how high grade these intercepts once we start mining will be. But we released results of 30 grams over 7 meters. And for those of you that aren't very familiar with mining, anytime you have an intercept meters times grade that's over 50, you know, that's a great intercept. Anywhere near 50 is great intercept. If you're at 100, you're sort of hitting the exceptional hits. And we've hit a number of these dilation zones where we're getting super high grades. For example, another one was 17 grams over 13 meters. So these are really high intercepts. But exploration companies that are able to do that are significantly more valued than Galantas, because there is a bit of history with Galantas. And I think the market is now starting to understand what we're able to deliver. But Travis, what's even more important is I just don't know any company that is able to deliver those kind of intercepts, those high grades, and start to enter into production. So about a month ago, we said we're going to delay our production profile and start entering production about a month and a half later. So by around mid to end of June, we'll start producing commercial production from some stopes underground. And you know, that image that you're there at the underground mine, I think is spectacular. Yeah, you know, when I first saw that, it made me think about Irish gold. And you know, we're going to be the only gold producer on the island of Ireland that's producing gold. Think about that. Everyone loves Irish gold. It's the history, you know, pure Irish luck. I'm not sure what it is, but we all love this Irish gold. But you know, the ability to enter production, hit high grade intercepts. So you look at other companies, for example, Great Bear Resources that Kinross recently picked up. You know, they were hitting similar grades to what we are, and they got picked up for over $1 billion. You got Newfound Gold at $1 billion as well. So you know, I think nothing's really changed from our perspective. And in fact, I think we're getting stronger as time passes by, not weaker.
Now, something else I find interesting is, you know, it's one thing to learn about what it's like to go from an exploration company to a producing company and go from being a junior producer to a major, right?
Yep.
But what's interesting too is that a lot of companies, they work deals with another mining company. Let's say an exploration company jumps in and says, hey, you're a junior miner. Hey, how about we come together and we use your equipment? It's like a joint venture, or we just want to sell you the project. You're actually doing a little different, right? You're going for it.
We're going for it. And what some of your subscribers may not know is that we were actually a previous producer at Galantas in Northern Ireland. We produced about 30,000 ounces in an open pit. And the plan was to go underground. And with some of the issues in terms of getting a blasting permit in Northern Ireland, which we now have, and we're ready to go full steam ahead, that delayed the company to go from transition from underground or from open pit to underground. So now that we're able to start mining underground, we are going to be one of the few junior high grade companies that are able to mine and explore for high grade resources. I just can't think of anyone right now off the top of my head that's in our position.
Well, and here's another thing too. So we've had, like you said, there were some delays from starting the actual production because you wanted to firm up the walls, like where I am right now, right? With some shotcrete, for safety. But while this downturn's happening, the dollar's getting strong, the markets are falling apart because of inflation, right? We all buy physical metals because we're afraid of inflation, so we know over the long term they do well. But then these mining equities just get smacked down, and it blows me away. It's like separating the speculator from the investor. The investor goes, I know I bought it today, it's on sale tomorrow, I'm going to buy more. The speculator, and I'm not giving financial advice, guys, I'm just telling you about what I do. The speculator gets freaked out, and that just blows me away. I want to be the Warren Buffett of investors. That guy, like, he buys from fundamentals, and then it goes down. He goes, oh, buy more, buy more until I own it all.
And the junior, I'm going to take a step back because I actually have quite a bit of experience on this. So when I became CFO of Lakeshore Gold, I joined Lakeshore in 2008. And everyone knows the financial crisis of 2008. And I'm basing a lot of my experience of what I think may happen in the future based on lots of things, but part of it is the experience during the financial crisis. When I was trying to raise $20 million for Lakeshore, we were ready to go in production. We didn't have a PA. We're in many respects doing what Galantas is doing. We know we got a great deposit. We're going for it. We got the mill, we got the underground infrastructure, but we couldn't raise a dime.
Exactly.
Lakeshore was struggling to raise money. And I remember the first financing I did, I had to pull so many people who know me know I'm pretty creative on the financing side, and we're able to raise that 20 million through this charitable flow-through structure. We were actually the very first to have done it for gold mining companies and any exploration company for that matter. But the real more was a lot of the equities got hit over a 2 or 3 or 4 month period, but they significantly outperformed all the others. And it wasn't just about QE. People started to realize that all the asset classes were going down. And if you really wanted to preserve your wealth, you go back to fundamentals and what's worked for 1,000 years, which is gold.
Well, okay, this is a great point that you bring up, and I really appreciate it because actually, so paper, gold, and silver were getting smacked down starting about 6 months prior to Lehman. They started to trend down, trend down. We also saw the stock market trend down too, especially it started to hit a fever pitch about July or August, right before Lehman crashed in September. But then gold and silver, the spot prices, they stopped dropping around October, mid-October of 08. As the stocks kept falling, they started to go up and they started a multi-year uptrend. And I heard actually a tragic story of a man that was invested very heavily in mining companies, but tragically, everything fell apart for him by the end of 2008, and he didn't get to see that because he didn't realize, and it's a tragic story, but it's very important for people to understand this is history repeating itself. And as you see these mining shares dropping, the companies are still working, they're still drilling, they're still getting plans, blasting permits, start blowing everything up and getting the gold out of the ground. But sometimes you see these shares go down, and you need to understand why. There's a global economic slowdown happening right now, and people are freaking out. They're selling their shares and they're paying off margin debt and they are raising dollars. And that is why the Dixie is going up and gold and silver are coming down. And I want people to be ready, because when that happens and it stops and it hits that bottom and it starts to go again, I mean, I think we printed a little bit more money this time than last, right?
Yeah. Oh, way more money. And look, I'm actually more bullish now than I was, even in hindsight being 2020.
Yep.
I think commodities and gold companies are going to do much better than they would have from the down point in 2008 to the peak of, say, 2012, 13 in the last cycle. And I think a couple of reasons for that. Obviously, the US dollar is doing quite well. Yep. But if you look at Galantas, I'm using that as an example, we're based in Northern Ireland, and the British pound has gone down quite a bit. The euro has gone down quite a bit. In fact, the Japanese yen. But I think what's happening in a big macro perspective, I think this war with Ukraine is much more than the war with Ukraine. I think when you look at China and you look at what China's been doing over the last 10, 15 years, they're trying to secure every gold deposit, copper deposit, lithium deposit, any base metal, any metal deposit for that matter.
Yes.
I've had numerous calls from Turkish investors, for example. Same thing. Everyone is trying to secure metals. Yeah. And I think what this war with Ukraine is much deeper than a war with Ukraine, is all about controlling the metal space, because the future, whether you got vehicles, everything is all about metals. So you go back 10 years, no one was really thinking about gold and lithium and copper. It was all about the financial crisis with housing. But today, every country is trying to secure metals. So the US may be trying to sell gold mines or gold, but I gotta tell you, the Russians are trying to buy it, the Chinese are trying to buy it. And I don't think the US, unfortunately, has the same economic power or even any political power over the world that it did back in 2008. The world's changed significantly.
Oh yeah, and we're even seeing Elon Musk come out and saying, hey, I'm looking into buying a lithium mine. We saw AMC, a large theater chain, getting flushed with cash, and they go, what do they use it? Buy a mine. You're like, what? And so when is it going to, there's going to be a point, you're absolutely right, where companies are going to start going, we can't even source the physical. And I know that because I know brokers in the space, it is getting hard to source physical because there's so little of it available for investment purposes. These companies are going to go to the mines. And I want to say this, guys, again, this isn't financial advice. I invest in the resource sector for exactly what Mario's talking about. But Galantas is going from a exploration to producer. So think about that. When you're looking at companies going to buy mining companies, are they going to go directly to exploration companies? Or are they going to go to companies that can pull it out of the ground, that have already found it? Yep. So that's a big deal right there.
Exactly. And you just pointed something about the physical. A client relationship manager at RBC was telling me that clients are asking for $100,000 gold bars from RBC, and they've never seen this before. Someone else on a dog walk, I got a big wolf. Everyone sees my dog. She literally looks like a wolf. So everywhere I go, everyone stops me and asks me about the dog. But this lady down the street was telling me they're already seen evidence at another RBC. She works at head office RBC, of people not being able to afford their mortgage payments already. And guys, we just went up, what, 50 basis points in Canada and US? Maybe it's 100 basis points in total. I mean, that is nothing. And I think the biggest issue people fail to recognize, I'm going to go back to Canada versus the US here. But and I could leak something else in the US as well, because I found this quite fascinating today. But in Canada, when we did the stress test to afford a house, so they made sure you can afford your mortgage at, say, a 5-year fixed rate. But what no one ever factored in is, what happens if your car prices go up? What happens if your fuel goes up from to fill up your tank from $100 to $200?
Exactly.
Up like 30-40%.
Yeah.
Right. So no one's going to be able to afford their homes.
Yeah.
And already you're starting to see the deputy, I think it was the deputy the governor for Bank of Canada was saying, rates are going to be dependent on how people can afford their homes. In the US, I just saw today in California, basically, they're looking to propose a bill where the Californian government will pay first-time home buyers 17% of their down payment. I mean, now the government is getting into owning your house.
Oh yeah.
Right?
They're going to have their hands right in that
down payment. Oh yeah, this is getting scary, right? So this is the time where gold will be outperforming it, and I'm seeing smart money going into the gold equities. Look, if Galantas goes down in price, I'm going to keep buying. One of my other companies, we came out with a great PA. It's Doric Copper, and people are getting scared. Anytime there's a liquidity event, they sell. Right. Well, what did I do? I went out and picked up at least $50,000 of Doric Copper shares. And I'm sure my CEO did the same thing. I'm the chairman of that company, because I'm thinking, geez, this is the time to be buying these assets, not selling. If someone needs to sell, I'm there to buy it.
Well, I got to be honest with you, and I hope people are making it to the end. If you guys are making it right now and you're into gold mining companies, do me a favor and hashtag gold mining stocks or hashtag mining stocks in this comment section below. But what really gets me interesting, or Mario, it gets exciting. I was just down in Vegas talking with a bunch of CEOs in this space, some of which and they were talking about when silver took that big header in 2020, or when everything closed down, they were buying up these producing companies, and they literally 5x their money in a matter of 5 months. And I was talking to a really well-known geologist. She's going to be on the channel pretty soon, and she goes, "I bought myself an exotic sports car, actually." So that's just from that flip, because you guys know you're in the space. Nothing's changed, just a freak out when it comes to investor sentiment.
Yeah, and I think. There is a lot of fear in the market, without a doubt. But I think when you're looking at fear relative to, say, crypto, which if people read my Twitter feed, I don't get it. I mean, I understand the concept of it.
What do you mean you don't get it?
I don't understand.
I just lost a bunch of money last week. I totally get it.
Like Luna, all that kind of stuff. I mean, the fundamental issues there is different than when it comes to gold. Gold is gold. If there's fear, I get all that. But gold is not going to zero. It's always going to be physically there. You can't take someone's gold away. Yes, the government can mandate everyone's going to hand in their gold like they tried to do in the 20s during the Great Depression. But very few did. And if they're going to try and go house to house to take your gold, good luck. It's never going to happen. Right? If you go to Europe, you go to Russia, try and take some's gold away from their house. It's never going to happen.
And not only that, nobody has it anymore.
Exactly. My mother is 83 years old, and my dad's 85 years old.
Wow.
My dad's 91 years old. My mother, when she would go to Italy, she would sew in, if she's not gonna get in trouble now, but she would put these things in her bra, like these little pockets, and she would take all the gold she can buy in Italy to bring it to Canada, because you couldn't buy gold in Canada without these huge premiums, because even then people wanted gold. So, and that sort of tells you that gold is known, the value of gold is known through many generations. It's not just the new Gen X or Gen Z or whatever gen when it comes to crypto. All over the world, people recognize the value of gold and silver and precious metals. It's not a fight to try and convince them that this is what the asset you should have.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think there's a better way we could close on. That is a perfect statement, because, and I'm seeing it right now. Even the young kids are wearing these fake gold chains. Because that's the thing. It's like, I want to get them into owning the real gold chains, real wealth, So
pure Irish gold, Travis, pure Irish gold. We got
pure Irish gold. You guys heard
pot
it
of
first.
Gold. Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. This tunnel reminds me. It's the pot of gold.
The ninja needs a rainbow right now to be sitting
exactly.
Just taking in the pot of gold.
That's it. Pure Irish gold. That's it. That's why we had to have this call today. It all ties in now.
Well, I can't wait to watch what's going on with the company. I can't wait to watch you move from that exploration to producer. This is going to be exciting.
It's gonna be exciting.
Thank you so much for coming on. And is there
really
any way
appreciate
that
it.
they can find you? What's the best
Yeah,
way to
look,
find you?
you know, obviously anyone could always send me an email at m.stefano@galantas.com. But the best way is our website, galantas.com. You can see me on Twitter, Mario Stefano. You know, look, I love talking to investors. I like talking to anyone that's a former investor, plans to be an investor, is a current investor. I think the best way to understand our business is talk to people what they like.
Oh, yeah.
And I like talking about Galantas. I love talking about mine. I love talking about copper. I love talking about world events, economic events. I like talking. I'm Italian. Yeah. Hey, what can I say?
I'm a talker. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Well, that being said, the Economic Ninja is out.